Hello and welcome back to episode 5 of the Bathurst Elwell Sports Show. I'm your host Lewis Bathurst with my co-host
Henry Elwell.
and this show is where we go through the biggest news stories within sport throughout the week. This week was probably one of the more drier weeks. I don't think anything major happened up until maybe last night, where we saw the Champions League round of 16 games kick off, the first legs. The first half of the draw has been done. Uh, we saw in the early kick-off Club Brugge take on Aston Villa, where the score was 3-1 to Aston Villa, to the English side. Um, and now you'd feel that they could go to Villa Park in the reverse fixture and they would be able to pick up the 3 points there and ultimately send themselves through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. It was quite a quick game. Aston Villa scored through Leon Bailey within 3 minutes. It was a nice little head back from Tyrone Mings that set the Jamaican up. Bruges didn't take long to respond in the 12th minute. De Cupia hit a shot from the left hand side of the box. A nice shot assisted by Solis, another good play for Bruges. And then from that point, all the way up until the 82nd minute, there was a lack of goals in the game. An own goal. It was a very poor own goal by the centre half for Bruges. I feel like it was avoidable. He obviously had to try and block the shot, but it just the angle he went in at almost gave the ball no choice but to go in the back of the net. And then just 6 minutes later, Asensio put away a penalty that was definitely a penalty, and the game ended 3-1. Another talking point within the game was Tyrone Mings' save off the line, you could say. The ball was definitely, in my opinion, going from to the post and in, and Tyrone Mings somehow managed to, while standing backwards, get his leg up high enough to curl his foot round the ball to get it outside of the post. I think it was a great clearance. Probably one of the best we'll see in a while. And then we move on to the 8 o'clock kickoffs, the first of which was Dortmund-Lille, which ended 1-1. Adeyemi scored in the first half for Dortmund. It was a great finish. It was from a free kick or a corner. It was from a set-piece situation. The ball came in and it got headed back out by the Lille defence, and it dropped to Adeyemi on the edge of the box, and he hit it first time beautifully off the post and in into the bottom corner. A great shot. And then in the second half, Haraldsson equalised for Lille, a player who's been very good in Ligue 1 for Lille this season. And that leaves that tie wide open for when the French team hosts in the second leg. An all-Spanish affair was next, where we saw Real Madrid take on Atletico Madrid. Rodrigo again opened the scoring quite early with a great assist, a great ball by Valverde. Just around the outside of the defender, Rodrigo ran onto it well and took the ball past a few defenders and finished the ball off quite nicely. Julian Alvarez, obviously ex-Man City man, got the equaliser for Atletico, a man who's been prolific in La Liga, scoring 10 goals this season in all competitions. And once again, it was a great finish, but ultimately it was Real Madrid who had the last laugh as Brahim Diaz got the winner in the 65th minute, assisted by Thurlan Mendy. It was quite a scrappy goal, but a goal that was needed for Real Madrid. And then, obviously, the biggest talking point of the evening was PSV's unbeaten run in Europe coming to an end, and a quite significant end, as they lost 7-1 to Arsenal. And now you're thinking at the Emirates, it is more than game over. It was game over probably at 4-1, 7-1. PSV have absolutely got no chance of turning that around. I thought PSV could have gone 1-0 up early when they hit the bar from a shot that I don't think should have hit the bar. I think it should have gone in. And then the goal started flooding in from for Arsenal. They had three. It was 3-0 by in from the 18th minute to the 31st, where Marino scored his very scrappy goal. In the 31st minute they hooked Miles Lewis Skelly, who was booked quite early on, booked in the 24th minute, and I think maybe less than 5 minutes after that he could have very easily been awarded a second yellow card. which would have changed the complexion of the game. But apart from a penalty just before half time, PSV were never really in the game after the first 15 minutes.
Tonight you also have four games on the other side of the tournament. You've got Feyenoord, they take on Inter Milan. Liverpool take on PSG, Bayern take on Leverkusen, and Benfica take on Barcelona. Feyenoord play Inter Milan first, and Inter Milan sit top of Serie A with 1 point on Napoli. Now, I see them beasting through Feyenoord. I don't see Feyenoord putting up much of a fight there. PSG play host to Liverpool. Uh, Liverpool should win in theory. Again, PSG are a strong side, especially in France. But when you got the teams that they're playing, of course they're strong. Liverpool look dominant as ever. I know, obviously, losing, some games in a game in the FA Cup, obviously fairly recently, doesn't help them. But that's by the by. I think Liverpool will beast through PSG. Bayern take on Leverkusen in an all-German affair. I do think this is a difficult game for Bayern. Um, I, I think Bayern do get on top of this game though. Kane has 22 appearances. He has 21 goals currently this season. I don't see why he wouldn't play this game. And to be fair, just smack around Leverkusen a little bit more. Barcelona play Benfica. I see this being quite a goal-heavy game for both teams. Probably Barcelona coming out on top. We've seen what they've done this season. Very good season for Barcelona. I say it's goal-heavy because of the 5-4 earlier on in the Champions League earlier in the season.
It was a lot of EFL games on last night, aside from the Champions League. We saw Hull take a valuable 3 points from Plymouth in the Championship relegation race. Plymouth just looked all out at sea. They didn't even register a shot on target. They only had 3 shots in total throughout the whole game, and we know that Hull's home record is abysmal. And to go to the MKM Stadium and play as abysmal as that, I think it just solidifies the fact that Plymouth are going to go down. Preston Swansea was 0-0 as very much expected. If you were expecting two teams to draw 0-0 in the league, it was very much going to be them two. They both play a boring style of football where it makes them very hard to break each other down. And arguably the biggest talking point in the EFL last night was the Burnley result, not just because Burnley got 3 points and solidified themselves very much still in the chase for automatic promotion and the hunt down of Sheffield United, but the fact they actually conceded a goal for the first time since Boxing Day. Youssef Salek of Cardiff, just before half-time, made it 2-1. And now we can confirm that JJ Watt will not be coming out of retirement to play for the Bengals next NFL season, as Trafford's bet has gone down. But don't get me wrong, as much as he's conceded again, that is only the 10th goal they've conceded all season, and they still won the game. Still not conceded more than 2 goals in a game all season. It's still an absolutely incredible record that you can't knock for James Trafford, as much as he did concede last night. And also, as less significance, but still major significance if you support a team in the National League, I think last night confirmed that the National League title race is very much over. York went into the game 6 points behind Barnet with a game in hand, but York were at home to Altrincham and lost 2-1, while Barnet hosted Yeovil and won 5-0, putting themselves 9 points clear at the top of the table. And now you can't see Barnet getting caught from here. And York would probably have to go up via playoffs if they were to go up into League Two, which would be a huge achievement. But they have very much thrown the automatic promotion away, I think.
The table is still very close. Not as close as it has been.
Yeah,
but still quite close to the top.
I might be wrong with this one, but as far as I'm aware, in maybe December, November, York were 5 points clear with 2 games in hand. They're now 9 points behind with 1 game in hand. They're very much fallen off a cliff, and you don't see Barnet doing that because they're just grinding out results. and Barnet should be the ones who will go up to League Two.
In the world of boxing now, if we move on to boxing, Lamont Roach faced off against Gervonta Tank Davis, and the fight ended in a draw in the 12th round. Now, there is a lot of controversy about this fight, with Davis kneeling in the 9th round. Now, that should have been a knockdown for Davis. He claims he voluntarily put his knee to the floor because there was grease coming from his hair that he had recently done a few days prior to the fight, that had gotten into his eyes, leading him to it basically burn and he can't see. Now, that should have been, in my opinion, that's now a knockdown because you voluntarily put your knee on the canvas. And a lot of people have their own opinions on it. A lot of people share the same sentiment as me, that Davis was lucky to get a draw from this. It is going to the New York Athletic State Commission they're appealing the fight. Is Roach's camp, which makes sense. And I think it probably won't get overturned because you've got to think politically here. Especially in the world of combat sport, it is very political, in that sense that they're not going to let him have a loss on his record, on an undefeated record. They're not going to make it a loss on that, over a decision like this. It'll probably just still be a draw. I can't imagine it changing. But overall, very good fight. Very good fight. It heated up in the second half, definitely. As most boxing fights do. Yeah, it was two judges said it was 114 to 114 draw. In my opinion, that's not the case, but I'm not a judge in boxing, so that's for another day. Keeping on the same sort of train line here, in the UFC this weekend, massive fights going down, with Alex Pereira, and he is fighting Magomed Ankalaev, the Dagestani Russian-born fighter, in a fight where actually Pereira looks like he's got a bit of a challenge now, in Ankalaev, a guy that hasn't, I think if I'm correct, hasn't lost at all. Or no, he's had one loss in his career. My bad. So yeah, it should be a very interesting fight this weekend. Looking forward to it. Alex Pereira, I think 2 days ago now, was 22 pounds overweight, the limit. So that's 10.5 kilograms, I think, if my conversion is correct there. Obviously, very normal for a fighter to be very overweight before and then cut a lot before the fight. Ankalaev does put up a good challenge against Alex Pereira, I do feel. I think this will be a very good fight. And I think Ankalaev might have it, to be honest. Which I know a lot of people are on the Pereira train at the minute, saying, oh, how good he is. But I do think Ankalaev can get it done. Obviously, we should have had Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje. It's now not that because of Dan Hooker's injury, as mentioned in the previous episode. So Justin Gaethje takes on Rafael Fiziev, and that is a fight that we've already seen. So this is a round two, if you like, of that fight. Very good first fight. So this is a perfect fight to make. Unfortunately, it's not Dan Hooker because that would have been something else. Entirely, but it's a very good fight still one to watch. Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, comes out with a win here. I know he did win against Fiziev previously, but I do feel like that's going to happen again. Another big fight on that card, relatively, is Bobby Green, or as we now know him as King Green, because he changed his name, against Mauricio Ruffi, the up-and-coming fighter from Brazil. I think that one's good. King Green's kind of a veteran in the UFC and MMA. Very tumultuous time in the UFC. Obviously, most recently losing out to Paddy Pimblett over in the UK. Ruffy probably wins this fight, in my opinion. I don't see Green really putting up that much of a fight.
So we head back over to my weekly horse racing segment, you could call it. I don't think I've not done one since we started this podcast, but pretty majorly in the last hour since the starting of this podcast, as of recording, the confirmations for day one of Cheltenham next Tuesday have just been released. And the most important of those, of course, the champion hurdle confirmations, so I'll just run through the quick confirmations now. Burdett Road goes, Constitution Hill, King of Kinsfield, Stateman, Winterfog. Of course, the mare Brighter Days Ahead, with so much controversy surrounding her. Golden Ace and Lossiemouth, but it is important to be said that Golden Ace and Lossiemouth both do still hold entries in the mare's hurdle. Uh, for the Supreme, we've got some. Obviously, the main one is Cupcake de Boards. He's the 8 to 11 favourite as we stand, and Willie Mullins is responsible for 9 of the 17 horses that are currently entered in the Supreme. Then we move on to the mare's hurdle. Lossiemouth, obviously, as I've just mentioned, is still in. It's still in there. Brighter Days Ahead has not. Gordon Elliott has taken the mare out of that and put all his eggs in the basket of the champion hurdle. And it is also can be expected in the coming days that Nicky Henderson's Joyous will be supplemented for the fee to bring the potential field up to 15. The Arkle confirmations, Ballyburn has been left in. I'll just quickly run through the Arkle confirmation for you. Ballyburn, Firefox, Django Bay, Jordans, Caliph de Burley, Lodersud, Margeborough, Touch Me Not, and Only by Night are the confirmations for the Arkle. The Ultima is a 31 horses still remain in that. Obviously, it's a big field handicap. But Johnny who has been as short as 8 to 1 for the contest, has not been declared, which is probably the major shock in that one. The National Hunt Chase, Johnny Who again, and the Changing Man have not been confirmed, sorry. And the market currently shapes up with Now Is the Hour, Haiti Couleurs, and Transmissions as the market leaders. The Fred Winter is the final one. 38 confirmations for the big field handicap, and the most notable you could say is Joseph O'Brien's trained Naturally Nimble, as well as Lady De Vega being in there, Liam Swagger, Lavender Hill Mob, and there's a few other interesting names in the Fred Winter. And I think that's the end of the podcast. I've been your host, Lewis Bathurst, with my co-host,
Henry,
and see you next week. Bye.
see ya.